So Dana White announced Ilya Topuria versus Charles Oliveira for International Fight Week. He also announced DDP versus Hamza yesterday, and basically majority of the major fights that we're going to see were announced yesterday from Dana White in a random hotel room on Instagram Live. We're gonna watch the video. We're gonna go through the fights, and I'm going to go on a rant on how Dana White and the UFC are actively doing everything they can not to promote fights. But let's see how Dana White announces some of the biggest fights potentially to go down in the history of the sport. Does he do it in the whiteboard room? Does he do it in the office? No, he does it in a random hotel room. What, you know, maybe I'm nitpicking here. Maybe I am just, an ignorant fan. Let's listen to Dana White break, break the biggest fights in the sport.
I'm in New York. I'm going to give it a minute here for everybody to get on before I start firing off announcements. Announce 317. Relax, everybody. Relax. Finally, the moment you've all been waiting for.
Keep in mind, we are a minute in. This is the CEO of the UFC, the biggest MMA organization, one of the biggest sports organizations in the world. Again, he is announcing major fights at a time where they're re-signing TV rights deals. They have all this going on. This is the build-up we get. This is the announcements we get.
So, let me start with this. Current lightweight champion Islam Makhachev is going to move up to the welterweight division to face Jack Della Maddalena. What do we all love about Islam? If he had moved up to fight...
Boom. Islam, JDM. Major fight. It sucks for not getting the Islam fight, but after what JDM did do, Bilal Muhammad, it makes that fight interesting. We'll have Islam Makhachev fighting closer to his natural weight. We'll have to see whether he will have the same success in the grappling. And probably the hardest division there is welterweight. You look at the contenders up there. That's another thing you have to take into account. Islam is jumping over Sean Brady, Joaquin Buckley, Gary, Usman if he beats Berkeley. He's jumping a lot of contenders right now, and I feel like there are so many people 170 right now that probably and may win that belt. But we understand why Islam has the right to jump in one. 4 title defenses at lightweight. One of the most dominant champions we have ever seen. One of the most dominant fighters we have ever seen. This is how you're breaking these fights, though.
He was a 5-1 favorite. Moving up to fight Jack, the odds makers have this fight at even. This guy is a beast. Islam is the fucking best. Jack, obviously, coming off damage in that fight, so he's accepted the fight. I'll let you guys know when I pick a time and date, but this fight is definitely happening.
No date. We know the date. It will be Pro Strikeaway later this year. We'll finally get Islam Makhachev fighting twice a year for the first time, I think, in 3 years. Or maybe 2. But again, where the fuck is the hype? Come on, Dana. You're supposed to be hyping this up. You're supposed to be getting the casual fans stoked for these cards.
All right. UFC 317 International Fight Week, June 28th from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. You all know Ilya Topuria, undefeated, 16-0, vacated his featherweight title. He knocked out Volk, Holloway, and now he's moving up to lightweight. And he will face former lightweight champion and number 2 ranked Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight title. Co-main event.
Ilya Topuria finally getting a shot at the lightweight belt, leaving the featherweight division after he knocked out Max Holloway, who knocked out Justin Gaethje. Again, the guy that always was trying to get is going to fight. You have him going up against Oliveira, former champion. How many finishes? How many submissions? Working back to fight for the belt that he wants to get back so badly. Oliveira being one of the, probably the most fan favorite champion we have ever had. At least top 5. This is really all we're getting here.
Flyweight champion Pantoja will defend his belt against Kai Kara France. Pantoja hasn't lost a fight in 5 years. Kai Kara France, 3 of his last 4 wins have come in the very first round. Also on that card,
Alexander Pantoja, Kai Kara France. Kai Kara France has, I think, the most first-round finishes of any flyweight. Again, a flyweight getting first-round knockouts, taking on Alexander Pantoja, clearly the second greatest flyweight of all time, the most dominant flyweight since Demetrius Johnson, who Dana White hated, the UFC hated. Let's not try and act like they were, behind DJ at all back then. They did nothing to promote the smaller weight class. That's right, they did nothing to promote any of these fights.
Paulo Costa versus Kopylov, Dariush versus Moicano, and a lot of other great fights that I'll announce soon.
Paulo Costa, Roman Kopylov, we've known that it's been on this card since fucking January. I had to go back. You said Ronaldo Moicano, Benito Dariush, that was supposed to happen in January. Ronaldo Moicano stepped up in the main event last day as well, Makhachev. Again, where the hype? Where is the hype?
For UFC 317, go on sale Friday. And don't forget to pick up your tickets for UFC X. All your favorite fighters are going to be there and lots of other fun shit. Vacant. Yes, vacant. Yes. Vacant title. Yes. He's moving up.
Lots of other fun shit.
Some of you must have come in late. Got to show up on time. UFC Abu Dhabi, July 26th, Etihad Arena. Many of you have already seen this, but the main event will be Whitaker versus DeRitter. For those of you,
Whitaker versus DeRitter, that was rumored a week ago. Boom, we're finally getting that fight. Former middleweight champion Robert Whitaker, fan favorite, taking on Reinier DeRitter, former 1 champion. Just knocked out our biggest, one of the biggest prospects we're trying to get behind. Definitely showing we're not bitter whatsoever. Hype! Hype the fight up! Fuck's sake!
For you that didn't see it and don't know, DeRitter has exploded into the UFC with all 3 of his fights ending in finishes, including his most recent TKO win over Bo Nickel less than 2 weeks ago. He was a 2-division champ at 1FC, and obviously this is a massive fight for him with former world.
Okay, I did cut him off before I hyped the fight. That's not funny. But still, back in the day, Dana White was losing his mind. He'd be screaming this shit.
Champion Robert Whitaker. Also on the card, Shara Bullet versus Marc-Andre Barrios, who's coming off a nasty knockout win last Saturday in Montreal. We have a ton of other fun fights on this card, too, that we'll announce soon. UFC Fight Night Abu Dhabi from the Etihad Arena, July 26th. And you can watch this live and free on ABC, the network. Tickets are available now. All right. Tom Aspinall, I didn't read it. I told you guys already, we'll get Aspinall versus Jones done.
Then basically the rest of the clip is, well, the rest of the live streaming said was the chat asking about Aspinall versus John Jones. We already know if the fight's gonna happen, it'll happen at MSG, and yeah. But again, where the fuck is the hype for the fights? Like, look, Ross Edmonds. I see him around from time to time. I think he's a journalist. He posted this. The UFC and Dana White have delivered with tonight's announcements. UFC 317 is stacked with Topuria versus Oliveira headlining for the lightweight belts, Pantoja versus Kai Franz for the flyweight title, and Duplessis versus Chimaev at UFC 319. Where is the hype? Where is Dana White losing his mind about these fights? Again, Victoria Oliveira, not the fight we wanted. Still an insane fight. Like, when you talk about betting on yourself, there's no bigger bet than giving up the title that you earned, moving up to another weight class, working for a second belt, putting your undefeated streak on the line against a guy with some of the most submissions, some of the most finishes, a guy like Oliveira who's very lengthy, and I think is a really, really difficult matchup for Topuria. Pantoja versus Kai Fronts. Again, they hate promoting the lighter weight divisions. They absolutely hate doing it. But Pantoja, the second most dominant flyweight since Demetrius Johnson, again taking on a guy who has multiple first down finishes. Paulo Costa, former middleweight title challenger, taking on Roman Kopelev. Roman Kopelev has a lot of good finishes, a lot of good performances. Vanille Dariush, a former top 5 fighter in the lightweight division, taking on Ronaldo Moicano, a fan favorite, hilarious fighter, just stepped in short notice against the number one pound for pound guy. Deniz versus Tafra. Why the hell do we keep putting Tafra in the main event? I know why. Because, the legitimate heavyweights aren't ranked yet. Brendan Royval versus Manel Kape, a fight that we wanted to stick for a while. Manel Kape has a bunch of finishers lately. Brendan Royval, number one contender, lost 3 fights to Pantoja. Jack Hermanson versus Gregory Rodriguez. Jack Hermanson, a top middleweight for years. Rodriguez looking to rebound after getting knocked out by Cannoneer. Vivian Erosia versus Tracy Cortez. Where the fuck is the hype for these fights? I'm getting so fucking annoyed. Topuria is the UFC shot at a bigger star than Conor McGregor. When Conor McGregor came out on the stage, the infamous clip that everybody uses in their intros and memes, Muhammad Foodies, I forgot your channel's name. The guy who does the cartoons. Again, Conor McGregor. Where is that hype for their fighters now? All we get now is, this guy's a star. This guy's a superstar. Yeah, Sean O'Malley is a superstar. He's a superstar, guys. If we say superstar enough, he's a superstar. Dana White years ago would have lost his mind announcing these fights. These are insane fights. I want to go over to this one. This should be the greatest middleweight title fight we ever see. DDP undefeated in the UFC. His style against Chimaev's you know, pressuring, wrestle heavy, domination style. You're either going to see DDP catch Hamza Chimaev, break his undefeated streak, or you're going to see Chimaev winning the belt, potentially go on to dominate every single fighter he fights. Where the fuck is the hype? Where is the hype? Is it time to get Hunter Campbell? Fucking, um, it's time to get Hunter Campbell in front of the mic. Again, Israel Makachev will vacate his lightweight title, move up to welterweight. Scream that shit. Hype it up. Make a promo package. Instead of just, going on Instagram Live in a random hotel. Yeah, Israel's moving up. JDM, yeah. Taporia, Oliveira, DDP versus Hamza. You guys want that fight? There you go. Dana White doesn't want to fucking be there anymore. Like, look at what we have coming out from the summer. The first half of the UFC this year was a bit rocky. We had UFC 314, which was a good card. UFC 312 ended up being a good card, even though, as a pay per view, it was not worth it. Not saying it's a bad card, was not worth $80, in my opinion. Morale versus O'Malley, too. Again, O'Malley's probably going to lose his way back to the belt for a few years. Or they're just going to shove him in your face constantly until he either becomes a star or he ends up losing to every top contender. Usman versus Buckley. You guys know I'm a huge Buckley fan. I think Buckley is going to win that belt. Former champion Kamaru Usman, look at what he did to Jorge Colby. I know he lost to Leon twice, but he beat Leon before. Poirier versus Makachev, we just went over. Holloway versus Poirier. Again, I'm gonna end up making a video on that closer to that fight. Obviously, multiple. But like Poirier's last fight against Holloway's very first fight in the UFC. And each time that these guys have fought, it's been at, very crucial points in their careers. Max Holloway, very young first fight. Then they fight for the second time for the interim lightweight belt. Poirier wins. Now that Poirier's, leaving, there's not many other options that make sense than Holloway. Whitaker versus DeRitter, that got rumored. That's officially announced now. Really like that fight. I would have liked to see the Sean Strickland fight. I do hope we get to see RDR versus Sean Strickland. But I like this fight. It's a big test for Robert Whitaker against a former champion. And if he's able to perform the way he did against Bo Nickel, he puts himself in the title conversation. Then, DDP versus Hamza Chimaev. Is it time that Hunter Campbell steps in? Is it time that, maybe another company takes over the promotion completely? Maybe. But, like, these are major fights. I'm so excited. Even though we're not getting Israel Poirier, I love Oliveira. Oliveira is one of my favorite fighters. Elliot Poirier, one of may become the biggest star in the sport. JDM versus Israel Makachev. It's a dead even fight. Like even with everything Hamzat has done or Israel has done, very close. We need the hype. The hype should not be coming from random small YouTube channels. It should be coming from ESPN. It should be coming from Netflix, whoever they're broadcasting. The UFC. and most importantly, the face of the UFC. And for nearly 30 years, that face has been Dana White. And if all we're going to get is random Instagram lives in a hotel to announce some of the biggest fights potentially in the history of the sport, maybe we need to look at somebody stepping up. Maybe Dana White is better off working in the background, working on what he's done for the last few decades. I might be wrong though. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think about the fight announcements? What do you think about Dana White announcing all this on Instagram Live? That is my main question. We'll be talking about the fights more as they get closer. Obviously, these are, once again, biggest fights of all time here. But let me know what you have to say down below. Thanks for watching. I posted my predictions today for Gilbert Burns versus Michael Moraes. If you want to go check those out, go check them out. I greatly appreciate it. Later.